Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. That smokiness, guys, that smokiness of the lap song, so good, so good. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee. Today is going to be a photo day. So you see, I got this thing in here today. This brand, it's called Comfier, sent this over for me to test out. It's been a whirlwind this week, so this might come in clutch. I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad, but we're going to give it a test for the next couple of days. And if I like it, well, I'll tell you about it. If I don't, you just won't hear about it anymore, but we'll see. Yeah, this week has been absolutely nuts. I've been dealing with a lot of raw material issues. If you guys don't know, I'm the creator of the Aurora Camera Care product, and procurement of raw materials these days it's just rough, guys. It's rough. Matter of fact, B&H has ordered a lot of these from me and I haven't been able to fulfill them. It's just hard. There are still some left if you want any of these. These are, if you don't know, Aurora Camera Care is a lens as well as sensor cleaning kit that I came up with for full frame, for APS-C, as well as micro four thirds. There's something there for each camera, whatever camera you do have. It's just simple and easy. It's a means of cleaning your sensors without having that fear of like how much liquid to use and all this stuff. You get dry as well as pre-moistened swabs, so you know exactly that you're doing it right and you have enough cleaner on there. So there's still some, I believe, on Amazon. I don't know. I don't think B&H has any more. I have still a few in our warehouse up the road. So if you want to order any of these, you can use JCristina.com's website or possibly go over to Amazon. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about the EOS R7. Now, I've spoken to you about this all the way back in like 2018, October, when the EOS R came out. And I was saying at the time that we're going to see the EOS R almost as the beginnings of it. I want to say kind of like a Rebel, all right, like a Canon Rebel. And then we're going to most likely see an R7, an R5, an R6, an R1. And some of these things have came to pass, like an R6, an R5, and of course we've seen the EOS R. Now, I do believe the EOS R7 is right around the corner. It's probably going to be, actually should have came out already, but I think there's been a lot of delays. Perfect example is with the procurement of product, of raw materials. It's very difficult to get. So I found some specs. Now, these are obviously rumored specs. They could be true. They could be modified. And that's what always happens when it comes to these rumors. I want to go into the specs first. I know some people really want to know, and I'm going to give this to you at the beginning of the video. If you want to go and shut off after that, then go ahead. Hopefully you don't, because I want to have a little bit of conversation about this R7 after. So when we look at the specs, what they're saying is it's going to be a 32 megapixel APS-C BSI image sensor. So it will be APS-C and not full frame. Now, I've talked to you guys about this in the past, and some people are like, well, why in the hell would you have an APS-C sensor when you have this low-end R, right? It just doesn't make sense. Well, it does. You know, APS-C is a really good size for a sensor. It's really good if you're like a birder or something and you want to get that extra reach out of your 800 millimeter lens. Throw it on an APS-C body and you're going to get a little bit more reach. You can do the math. Depends if you're 1.4, 1.5, 1.6x, either which way. But it is very important. APS-C, I think, is I think it's the perfect camera for the majority of people. A lot of people buy full frame just because it's the thing. Like everyone is buying mirrorless right now because it's the thing. But APS-C is about enough. It has a really good, you have extra reach, like I said, but then you have a good enough, let's say that background blur, I think is definitely good enough. Depends on what type of lenses you're using. The only thing that I see with APS-C compared to full frame lenses is you don't have as many of them and they're usually not as pro. That being said, maybe when an R7 comes out, we'll see more pro lenses. We'll see what ends up happening. Anyways, they're saying that it will shoot 20 frames per second. That's pretty fast, motoring through 20 frames per second. Obviously, it's mirrorless, very easy to do. Also, they're saying it'll have one CF Express card slot and one SD card slot. Not bad. Some people really love CF Express. And for me, CF Express, I think, is the future. I think everything is going to go that way eventually because we're going to need more and more throughput, more and more speed. And as we get into that 8K arena, high frame rate, 8K, high bit rates, you need to be able to burst a ton of data onto these cards. And CF Express is really a good format to do it. Also, it's going to shoot 4K 60p, 60 frames per second. So that's not bad. And I think that that makes sense. I also believe that 120 would not be a far fetch when it comes to 4K either. And the reason being is it is an APS-C sensor. It's not full frame. So it's a little bit less to capture. You should be able to push these things a little bit further. And that's one of the things that they're saying with 1080p. They're indicating that we're going to get about 240 frames per second. 240, that's pretty nice for slow-mo. A lot of cameras cap out at about 120 frames per second, but 240 is going to be really nice. Now, once again, if my theory is correct, and being an APS-C sensor and having a CF Express card in it, we might even be able to see up to 300 plus frames per second, maybe 480, doubled. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. I think that a lot of photographers or a lot of videographers out there just love slow motion. And as you can give them more and more, they just love you even more. So we'll see what happens. 240 isn't bad though, not bad at 1080p. Also, CLog 3. Now this is massive because some of the cameras will only give you CLog 2. And when you're trying to marry cameras together in post-production on a timeline, okay, it's good to have the exact same log profile so you don't have to like dual grade everything. That's just a pain in the ass, right? So if you have CLog 3, it doesn't really matter what camera you're using. You could dump that right onto the timeline, do your color grades, and literally cut and paste and cut and paste. And you don't have to worry about it. It's all going to match. So Canon's Log 3, I think, would be just clutch for this camera to have, especially when it comes to video guys like myself. So we'll see. Now, the ergonomics is stated to be somewhere in line of a R5 and an R6 combination. I'm going to think it's probably going to be like an R6, you know, but we'll see. Most likely, it's going to be a little bit smaller than what we see with a full-frame camera. That being said, they might decide to keep the body the same size so they can reuse parts. Today, once again, we're talking about procurement of raw materials and the redesign of stuff. And I've talked to you guys about this in the past with the whole mirrorless thing that all these companies are getting into. There's a lot of R&D that goes into it and a lot of new molds. And this is very expensive. And whenever you can keep things similar or the same and your molds end up being the same or very similar, it ends up being cheaper. Right? And you don't have to rework the innards of things because the sizing is the same. And a little bit bigger is not bad because once again, we have to deal with heat and electronics doesn't like heat, right? So the faster you go, the higher the bit rate, the higher the frame rate, once you get to 8K and even more, you're really taxing the amount of heat dissipation or disbursement that these cameras can do, especially if you don't have active cooling, like an inlet and an exhaust and a fan inside, like a lot of the cameras are doing today, right? So bigger is not a bad thing. Now, as far as the release date or the announcement date, they were saying that it was going to be announced, let's say, right around second quarter of 2022. This is being pushed back to fourth quarter 2022, which once again makes sense because of delays that we're seeing right across the board in our industry and every industry these days. So we're looking at an announcement maybe right around August of 2022. So I know I've been talking about this camera since 2018, but I think we're getting close to it. Now, some people out there are saying, yeah, I don't think that this is going to be coming out, where other people are saying we've seen this in the wild, field tested, and there are some select photographers that actually have this camera in their hot little hands testing it. But what is interesting here is normally in the rumor mill, we will see these prying eyes in more like smartphones with these pictures of the camera in the wild that are so digitized and jacked, right? That look like complete crap. But we haven't even seen any of that. So it leads me to believe that either the photographers, these select photographers that actually have the camera, are doing a really damn good job of not allowing the prying eyes to see the camera, or it's just not out there. Which one it is, I really don't know. Some of the folks out there are saying, you know, I don't think this is going to come out because it doesn't make sense. They have full frame already in the R, and that's a lower cost. Why would you put out an R7? Well, remember, an R7 is, let me see which one this is. This is a 7D. We have the Mark II over there. Anyways, this is the 7D. So the R7 will be the, I guess, successor to this. Once again, like I've said in the past, every DSLR that Canon has is being replaced with mirrorless. That's just the way it is. You have your R6, you have your R5. Once again, like I said, you're going to see an R1, which will be the equivalent to my 1Ds that we have over there that we'll probably swap out for them. So they are slowly being replaced. And for people to say that an R7 is really not going to come out, I think is just kind of foolish, because let me tell you, the 7D is, to me, like a crossover body. Once again, I have 1Ds, I have 5Ds, 7Ds, then I have all of the other lower end, like a 20D, 30D, 40D, I have like all of them. I have a problem. Anyways, the reason I say this is because this really is like this crossover body between amateur and pro. I call it like a pro-am body. You can use a 7D Mark II for a lot of professional work, period. And there's a lot of birders out there that were using the 7Ds because, once again, you get that extra reach. You throw on a piece of really good glass and you have the extra crop factor, and it just does a really good job. The 7D Mark II is just awesome, period. I don't know what else to say. So not to make it, I think, would be a travesty. Now, I also said that we're not going to see APS-C glass. What they're going to do is they're going to use RF glass, just like what Sony did. Sony has their full frame and their APS-C. They all use the exact same mount, and that is it. And I think Canon is going to do the same thing. I cannot see them making APS-C glass. All right. I just don't think they're going to do it. And I think rightfully so. It just doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. So I want to know what your thoughts are. Would you like to see an R7 come out? If you would, is this something that you would purchase, or do you just not care one way or another? I think it will be an important camera, and I think even more so, the most important camera that we will see either announced or delivered in 2022 towards the very end will be the R1. That will be their flagship. That will be their cat's meow, right? The bee's knees of Canon. And I can't wait to see it. I don't want to see the price, but I can't wait to see what they do with it, because the 1D, if you don't know, is a workhorse. I wish I had it closer. They're over there. Anyways, the 1D is a professional grade camera that just goes and goes and goes and goes. I have on some of these cameras, I have the original 1D that probably has close to 500,000 shots on it, maybe 400,000 shots, somewhere right on there. Still with the exact same shutter. I mean, that's craziness, right? So anyways, guys, I want to know your thoughts in the comment area below this video. Put those down there. Let's have a conversation about this. Let's have a conversation. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel as of yet, please subscribe and click this little bell icon over there. So when I go live and when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And click all so that you actually do get these notifications, because for some reason, YouTube doesn't do it. Click all. If you haven't given this video a thumbs up, why the hell not? Throw it a thumbs up. I hope you enjoyed the content. Finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you in the next one. Love you all.